When most people think about the Cold War, they picture missiles, bunkers and spies. But, beneath that icy standoff between East and West was a quieter war, one fought not with weapons, but with nature itself. Soldiers stationed in Siberia, Alaska and the Arctic outposts of Scandinavia didn't face constant enemy fire, but they battled temperatures that could kill in a matter of hours. Frostbite could take a man out of action faster than a bullet. In those frozen frontiers, survival wasn't about guns or gadgets. It was about warmth. A traditional heater wasn't an option. Open flames and smoke could instantly reveal a soldier's position to enemy aircraft or infrared scanners. Even the faint glow of a campfire could mean discovery. So both sides of the Cold War had to think differently. They needed a way to stay warm without revealing their location, wasting precious fuel, or depending on heavy, unreliable equipment. What they developed was nothing short of genius, a system that used the human body itself as the heat source, and science to keep every bit of that warmth from escaping. During the 1950s and 1960s, soldiers stationed in Arctic watch posts and mountain surveillance stations were under strict orders to remain invisible. The United States military, along with its NATO allies and the Soviet troops posted deep in Siberia and Kazakhstan, all faced the same deadly challenge. In those conditions, fire meant danger. The only reliable warmth was the kind you made yourself and managed carefully. Both sides rediscovered a truth known to polar explorers long before them. You don't create heat from the environment, you conserve your own. Once your body loses it, no heater on Earth can bring it back fast enough. This understanding gave birth to a method soldiers called the cold cell system, a disciplined way of dressing, moving and sleeping that captured body heat, reflected it inward and reduced every possible form of heat loss. Instead of relying on stoves or open fires, Cold War militaries issued soldiers specialized clothing and equipment that turned each man into a self-contained heating system. The foundation was layering, but not the simple three-layer technique that hikers use today. It was a carefully engineered process developed through years of field testing in temperatures that dropped to 60 below zero. The first layer focused on moisture control. Soldiers wore thin, wool-based underwear that wickeded sweat away from the skin without trapping it. Cotton was banned because it absorbed moisture, froze solid, and could lead to deadly heat loss. Over that came a thicker wool layer that held warmth even when damp. Finally, a windproof outer shell made from waxed canvas or treated rubber kept out the biting Arctic wind, while still allowing a little air exchange to prevent condensation. The real breakthrough, though, came with the development of thermal reflection sheeting, what we now know as the space blanket. Originally invented by NASA scientists and adapted by military engineers, this thin metallic film could reflect up to 90% of radiant body heat back toward the user. It was sewn into sleeping bags, tent linings, and even the soles of boots. For soldiers on frozen mountaintops, it was nothing short of revolutionary. They could stay warm for hours in below-zero temperatures without lighting a single flame. That same Cold War science still works today. Place a reflective blanket under your sleeping pad to stop heat from escaping into the frozen ground, or wrap one beneath your jacket to trap warmth near your core. It's simple, cheap, and just as effective now as it was for the soldiers who once guarded the Arctic frontiers. But one of the least understood parts of Cold War survival wasn't insulation. It was airflow. The natural instinct in extreme cold is to seal every opening, but that creates condensation, which freezes inside your clothing and gear. Soviet and American Arctic troops learned to manage airflow precisely, venting just enough warm air to prevent moisture buildup while still keeping the cold out. They opened vents while marching and sealed them when resting. Their gloves had removable liners, so one pair could dry while the other was worn. Boots had felt inserts that could be swapped and aired out to prevent freezing. Every small adjustment mattered. The rule was simple, but life-saving: stay dry to stay alive. Sweat kills faster than frost. If a soldier began to sweat, he immediately removed a layer. When he stopped moving, he added it back before his core temperature fell. It was a system that didn't depend on a heater. It depended on awareness, timing, and discipline. In the field, when no tents or stoves could be used, soldiers turned to another Cold War survival innovation, the thermal nest. They dug shallow trenches, lined them with pine branches or dry grass, then piled snow along the sides. It sounds strange, but snow, full of trapped air, is one of nature's best insulators. Over the top, they placed a reflective sheet or waxed canvas, creating a cocoon that captured and bounced their body heat back toward them. A single soldier could raise the internal temperature of such a shelter by several degrees, enough to melt the frost off his equipment. If you ever find yourself stranded in the cold, the same principle can save your life. Build low and narrow. Use insulation beneath you, and set up a reflective barrier behind you. Even a cheap emergency blanket pinned above your sleeping area can make a massive difference. The brilliance of Cold War survival systems wasn't about high technology, it was about human discipline. Staying warm wasn't about consuming more energy. It was about controlling what you already had. Soldiers learned to eat high-fat foods to boost metabolism, stay hydrated to keep blood circulating efficiently, and avoid alcohol or caffeine, which made heat escape faster through dilated blood vessels. They moved in short, controlled bursts, activity to generate warmth, rest to conserve it. They didn't rely on external heat. They became the heater. That's what made the Cold War's hidden survival war so fascinating. In an age obsessed with nuclear power and advanced weaponry, the most effective tool of endurance turned out to be the human body, guided by knowledge and self-control. Those soldiers proved that survival isn't about the latest gadget. It's about understanding the fundamentals of how warmth works. In today's world, where comfort is taken for granted, those lessons still matter. The same methods that kept soldiers alive in the frozen silence of the Arctic can keep modern hikers, explorers, or even stranded drivers alive through the coldest nights. Knowledge, not fire, is the ultimate source of heat.